Hello everyone, my name is Lowko and welcome to a best of 3 series of Taran vs Zerg. We find ourselves on the StarCraft 2 PTR, the most recent version of the multiplayer balance patch. Time for a best of 3 series where in game number 1 we find ourselves on a brand new map called Whispers of Gold. Spawning right here in the top left hand corner, playing with the red Terran pieces, we have none other than ByuN. His opponent, down in the bottom right, playing with the blue Zerg drones, he goes by the name of Shin. Shin going up against ByuN, two of the players that currently are in the top 10 globally. So this should be an absolute banger. I'm excited to find out exactly what ended up going down between these two. I heard that this series is really fun, and to be honest, I haven't seen a lot of late game TVZ yet. I saw that at least one of the games in this series, I checked some of the replay durations this morning. I don't remember exactly which game it was, but anyways, one of the games in this series does go quite the distance. So we should be able to have a little look at what late game Terran vs Zerg is currently like. One of the most notable changes, of course, would be the nerf to the Ghost. The Ghost is now 3 supply rather than 2. In general, relatively minor change, but to a player like ByuN, who is well known to do 20 ghosts, maybe 30 ghosts if he really needs to, that would mean that his late game army is like 20 to 30 supply less big, right? So we'll have to see what sort of adjustments he makes. The Liberator changes, they did get reverted. So a couple weeks ago I made a video about well, how the Liberator in the StarCraft 2 PTR was overpowered, and the changes got reverted. So apparently I wasn't the only one that thought that way. So, in general, some of those changes are going to be quite impactful. The Planetary Fortress now has 1 less armor as well, meaning that Zergling run-bys in the late game are going to be quite a bit better. We did see some changes, too, to the Zerg units. Like, for example, well, we have a change to the Ultralisk. The Ultralisk can now push units around a little bit better. I wonder if that's going to make it easier for the Ultra to be useful in the late game in this particular matchup. There's a couple changes that add up. So, I can imagine that late game TVZ is going to be slightly less turtley. And overall, it should be played a bit more actively, especially from the Terran's point of view. Now, the very best Terran in the world, Mr. Clem, was always playing late game TVZ very actively. I guess some of the Korean Terrans kind of ruined it, huh? Players like Maru, who just sit there behind their iron walls, and they can't really be broken very well. Well, I guess Maru in particular kind of ruined the super passive late game Terran style. Which honestly, yeah, it got nerfed. But I honestly personally don't mind it because I think it's a lot more fun to watch the active styles of StarCraft rather than the ones where my goal is to win by minute 35. And I'm gonna sit here and mine out the entire map. Like, I think it's fun to watch every once in a while, but in general, it's fun when the game gets there, you know, in a super action-packed game, rather than that being the general goal, the general strategy, right from the outset of the game, right from the get-go. Anyways, so far, we're not even remotely close to anything along those lines yet. We find ourselves with triple command center for Taran into a good old 1-1-1. So this should be Heli and Banshee here for ByuN, nothing all too surprising. Shin in the meantime going triple hedge. He has to deal with those slightly more expensive queens, but all of that is relatively manageable. Metabolic boost right now is done. He likes to pull all drones out of gas. He's now adding 1 apparently back in. I'm assuming we're going to rally some additional ones as well now with new cocoons. Yeah, producing some drones. So he put those drones back in gas when Zergling speed finished. Okay. Overlord is heading on over in this direction. Shin should find out that everything is a-okay and that everything is very standard. Follow-up right now here from ByuN is a tech lab as well on that barracks. So that is going to give him all the information he really needs. Even though the Overlord will not be able to tell any of its stories to anybody, it did already give him all the information that he could need in a game like this. Okay. We have the supply block here. That's a little sloppy. Supply block here from ByuN. Ultimately, we will have a second Banshee, but it's going to be about 7 years until it comes out. Normally, the Banshee pops at the same time as the cloaking field upgrades. Yeah, as soon as that upgrade pops, but this is a little bit disjointed now. Relatively minor change there, but at the very least, it's going to give Shin plenty of time to finish up his spore crawlers. One thing that changed, by the way, compared to the very first iteration of the new patch, is the Ultralisk late game speed, as we have a big attempted run by. Okay, ByuN. Yeah, this was coming from the middle of the map, and he just ran the units in. I rarely see this sort of thing work. This reminds me of StarCraft in 2010, man. Just send in the units and hope for the best. Line them up! Well, I guess this was about the best. Yeah, I don't think you could have really gotten more than 20 links there and 10 drones, but... yeah, I don't really like that too much from ByuN, because it's gonna now put Zerg firmly in the driver's seat, right? Like, Zerg gets to do whatever they like. Maybe if the Banshees were able to, like, join in over at the third base at the exact same time, and they could be a little bit annoying, it would have been fine, but since that supply block, everything was already a little disjointed. Anyways, there's one additional change that they've made to the Ultralisk that confuses me a little bit, honestly. So they reduced the Ultralisk's movement speed that it gets from the late game upgrade. So there's an upgrade in the Ultra Cavern called Anabolic Synthesis, and it increases the Ultralisk movement speed, but they've reduced the effectiveness. Apparently, there are some Terrans that were saying that the Ultra was too strong. This is a bit of a balance council moment. But apparently there were some Terrans that were saying that the Ultralisk was too strong, now that the Ghost was one supply more. And it's now easier to kill Ultras in the late game with Marine Marauder. Yeah. Anyways. I don't know if we need, like... I don't know if Marine Marauder needs to be more powerful, you know? Anyways, he's trying to see if he can get the kill right here on the Baneling Nest. I don't think that's really worthwhile. Shin has got plenty of energy available in his queens too for some transfusions, but that's never really going to happen. Second armory coming up right over here at the front. Command center number 4. And then we will probably see barracks 6, 7, and 8 in the relatively near future. I still giggle a little bit, though, whenever I think about that Balance Council leak that we recently had. That Protoss players are apparently very agreeable. Zerg players don't really say anything. And Terran players are the most whiny. I am not personally part of the Balance Council, but a few people came out and mentioned that that is basically how the Discord group works. I love that it's lore accurate, you know? Like, that is just like it is on the StarCraft 2 Reddit, on Team Liquid, on the Battle.net forums. Usually the Terran players are the most vocal. They're the very best politicians, though, because that's why the Ultralisk got changed, right? That's why we have an Ultralisk speed nerf in the late game. I feel like that's one of those things that you can complain about, and it's really not that big of a deal, but everybody's like, okay, if we need him to shut up, I guess we give him the Ultra late game nerf. Does anybody truly think the Ultra is too late? Anyways, I don't think so. Nice drop right here from ByuN, though. Comes in. Didn't have the most success with his early game pushes, but he does kill this base right now, and that is gonna significantly slow down Shin's aggression. Did the Banshee just YOLO in? Where's the Banshee? Sorry, did the Banshee... I'm gonna back off. Apparently that Banshee joined in one more time to try and see if it could finish the job. The Baneling Nest, though, has been secured. And it's never gonna go down. That was a very ambitious Banshee. The fact that it was so keen on trying to kill a 50 gas building. Interesting. Okay. There's barracks 6, 7, and 8 coming up. Shin is going into the good old +2/+2. And I'm assuming we will see him go up towards a hive here momentarily. To maybe go into Hydroling Bane and then eventually Lurker? That is at least the way that, yeah, usually Zerg is played. There it is. Generally speaking, with Terran secure the 4th base, which is right about right now. When they get up to that additional gas income, they can start thinking about the good old Ghost. Now, ByuN has always been a little bit reluctant making the Ghost. Sometimes ByuN gets into those games where he just doesn't make ghosts until the very latest possible moment. Sometimes he does it a little bit too late. But then as soon as he gets there, he likes to build about a gajillion of them, right? I'm curious to see if he's gonna be... Well, he's building tech labs. I'm curious to see if he's gonna be doubling down on Marauder play here instead. I know the Korean Terrans have apparently been talking about the ghost nerf being too significant. Whew. Micro Jackson slipping up. Probably because he was moonwalking over on the right side as well. Still though, Shin is cleaning up these drops really, really nicely. Okay. +3/+3 coming up nice and quick here for ByuN. And I'm expecting, there it is, the Ghost Academy. Okay, so. Main problem you run into as Taran is you need a lot of gas income. So that's why usually we see these sort of things delayed for a little bit. But now the Ghost is gonna be one of the tools of the trade here for the Taran. Now against Hydroling Bane, you don't actually need Ghosts. I think you're actually better off not making Ghosts at all against this unit composition in the new patch. In the past you could still make a couple, maybe you can still make a few. But you gotta be careful you don't accidentally let too much supply be soaked up by those Ghosts against an army that is not really requiring it. Not until ByuN really sees any sort of like, say like an Ultra transition or like a Lurker Den or something along those lines. Should you really be thinking about making too many Ghosts? Maybe like 2 or 3, just as like a Spellcaster option. There's the Lurker Den coming up. At the same time as we have the Ghost Cloaking researched. It now requires a little bit more strategic thinking though. Can't just, you know, blindly make the Ghost and always be in the right. Okay. Decent splitties here by ByuN, but he's still gonna have to run pretty far away. Most of the splash damage here, if not all the splash damage, has already disappeared. In the meantime, there's also a fight over here on the right side of the map that, yeah, Shin also cleans up. Shin does overextend though, reinforcing Marauders coming in from the other side of the map. They're gonna be able to get rid of those Hydralisks. Okay, couple Ghosts coming up. Nothing all too much, nothing all too many. Lurkers. Immediately morph in. We really do need those upgrades. Yeah. Interesting that he actually goes for the burrow upgrade over the ranged upgrade. Generally speaking, the ranged upgrade is considered to be the more important one. But apparently Shin likes to have the option here to quickly unburrow. I would imagine specifically against the Ghosts. Another big change actually for this matchup is that sensor towers are now salvageable, but they have less range. So you can see here ByuN slow pushing a bunch of sensor towers forward. They're also cheaper. Okay. Now these are very, like the sensor towers on the minimap look very small to me now. Although it's one of those situations where you show me the old one in a couple months from now. I'm like, oh my god, that's what we played with? That seems insanely broken. Nidus Network coming up here for Shin. He's gonna need it because the Terran army is stepping pretty deep. Ghost in the front though. Honestly, not quite the micro that we have come to expect from ByuN. I know I'm being very critical here because he's still doing a good job, but generally speaking, ByuN is like a Terran magician, you know, with the way that he keeps his units alive. We've seen quite a few losses here on the side of Taran that, I mean, are still cost efficient, so it's by no means bad. But ByuN is known to be, yeah, extremely good at controlling that sort of thing. Nidus Network goes up in the main base. Can we react to this, please, ByuN? We need to stim, dude. We need to stim. There we go. Bring those units up into the main base. That Nidus needs to be stopped, and it will be stopped. Just barely. But he gets it done. We're gonna go for, much like the Brute War strategy, we're gonna make a ring of missile turrets. The idea being, of course, that we can stop any of those Overseers from flying into the main base. But we did already see changes, of course, from Rogue in the new multiplayer balance patch as well, where he makes mass Overseer. And he just tries to drop a whole lot of changelings to the ground, and until at least some of them will slip through the cracks, and eventually the Nidus Worm goes up. Shin not quite that rich, though, in this game. He's got 89 workers, which is good. But not every single one of those drones is going to find a place to mine at this rate. Ghost army coming in clutch over here. Oh, what? Brenda! Where are you going? What are you... And I could walk 100 miles and I could... Okay. There she goes. Oh, there she goes. Apparently we're underwater, on the ground, on Whispers of Gold. I don't know how it works either. But it has underground physics. Or underwater physics, rather, even though we are... I think Brenda went in there for the intimidation, primarily. There are a couple of changelings over here that are providing Shin vision of the main. We have ourselves a fusion core coming up. That Nidus, by the way, is not going to happen. Fusion core coming up together with a tactical nuke. So that is going to be a nice opportunity here for ByuN. Try and get some more damage done. So to clarify, the nerf to the Ghost is that it's now 3 supply rather than 2. That's the nerf. Some Terrans are saying it makes the unit unplayable. I personally think it's the smallest possible change that you could have ever made to the unit. It really is quite insignificant, really. He's still making quite a few of them. There's the old version, but also the new version of advanced ballistics coming up. So again, this is what the unit has always been. It doesn't have that insane increased of radius when you use it. We have the healing upgrade as well for all of the Terran units coming in. Giving the Medevacs additional energy regen. Ooh. 14 damage or 14 kills right there on that Widow Mine is not bad. I'm not sure exactly what Shin's plan is. Like, what's the... I see this all the time in Shin's games. But I'm kind of lacking a little bit of killer instinct, you know? Where Shin is just kind of sitting here, ready to absorb every attack. And I guess his game plan is to try and, like, absorb one of those attacks and then hopefully counterattack to win. But he's lacking a little bit of that initiative. Like, he's trying to create it. But now that ByuN has realized that this is the strat, yeah, he's not really able to get much done here. And this is that classic issue that Zergs run into in the late game. Taran has long improved their unit comp, right? So they went from Marine Marauder Medevac into now Liberators, and then also the Ghost, and we have the Medevac upgrades, and we have the armor upgrades for the siege, for the planetary, right? And we have all of the other stuff, whereas the Zerg army kind of maxes out. Now, apparently Shin forgot about the adrenal glands. Oh, he doesn't have detection. He doesn't have detection. All right, anyways. Yeah, he forgot about the adrenal glands upgrade, which is actually kind of significant. But if you mine as much money here as the Terran does, you are ultimately going to lose the game. I don't think that Shin can ever play this passively. Like, he can't really play this successfully passively just because of the cost efficiency here of that Terran army. Now, of course, these maps are very new, so it depends on how much of the mining ByuN can actually get done. Looks like Shin has set his sights on denying this base over here, but then also the one over on the left side. So as long as Taran apparently in his mind doesn't get those bases, he should be a-okay. Can we please cloak those... Okay, there you go, the Ghosts. Maybe pick them up, get on out of here. No anti-air available. Planetary Fortress at 1 less armor. We already do have the building armor and the high-sec auto-tracking though, but that was one hell of an explosion. ByuN losing a ton of his stuff. ByuN already though has that mass command center style well underway. Woo! That was a big hit though. Taran suddenly dropped all the way down. But we do have a lot of orbitals here ready to go. He has all of the infrastructure he needs really for this game. Already 8 orbital commands. So honestly, I think if ByuN loses this many SCVs, it's really not the end of the world. We have some big fungal growths over here. Hydra's trying to get underneath. Okay, Hydra still mostly lose the fight, although the Liberators are not quite within range. Parasitic Bombs would be really nice too, but those Vipers don't quite have enough energy. A couple Hydras here coming in from the side. Rather sloppy engagement there as well for ByuN. In the meantime though, we have some of those units being used inside of the main base. There's Liberators going around the map, trying to create as much chaos as possible. Most of the Libs over here did fall. ByuN is all the way down to 129 supply. Okay. Liberator count, though, is growing rapidly. Shin is thinking about dealing with this late-game Liberator army with Hydras. Now, Hydras do have that new dash ability, that frenzy ability. They haven't quite finalized the name of it yet, but he didn't research it. So it's 100 minerals, 100 gas inside of the Hydra den. I don't really like the upgrade too much, if I'm being honest. I almost feel like it should be baked into the unit. Okay, there we go. He's getting it right now. It doesn't seem that impactful, but I guess we'll find out how good it is against Mass Liberator, because ByuN is going for what seems to be at least 18 of them. He already made a gajillion of them earlier. New expansion has been acquired in the top right, but that's never going to live. A lot of people initially compared the... So this is the new upgrade. A lot of people compared this upgrade to Stimpack for Hydralisks, because it makes it sound really nice. But honestly, it's more like a short-range blink on a rather long cooldown. I think that's a better way to view it. It's more like a movement ability. It's not a damage ability. You can kind of dash your Hydras around a bit and... yeah, get some additional movement around, but it's by no means great. Let's see. That's a lot of Liberators. They're all gonna siege up right over here. Parasitic Bombs, lots of Hydras coming in as well. They're trying to see if they can go around the back. Lucky here for Shin, some of those units are clumped up, but ByuN still did a pretty good splitty, making sure that those units don't take as much damage as they could. And, well, revert the changes or not, those Liberators are still raining the skies. Still, though, a lot of the Ling Bane has not really been handled yet. Leftover, well, ground units for Taran. Oh my god, do we just fly the Medevacs over the Hydras? Wake up, ByuN. 29 additional SCVs have gone down during all of that. Dashing Hydras coming in from the back right now, ByuN. Okay, forced to turn around. Nah, he should have this one in the back. GG gets cold. It's Shin who wins game number 1. You know what? I didn't love the idea of Shin's strategy there, but it looks like the map we were just on is quite difficult for Terran to get a split map on. And honestly, right, like that is one of those very infrequently discussed debates. Nobody ever really talks about map design much. Everybody's always talking about unit design. But maps have a significant impact on the overall balance of the game. The fact that ByuN couldn't find his 50% split map there with, you know, that high ground base at the very end in the top right-hand corner and the other high ground base as well on the left side made that entire strategy very tricky for him to pull off. And that may have been a bit of a learning point as well for ByuN, you know, where he looked at that, he's like, oh, I can pull this off. And then he found out, oh, wait, no. Probably should have played this a little bit differently. Even though I didn't really like the idea from Shin there all too much, it turns out it was indeed the right play. I've been a big fan of that Mass Overseer, Mass Nidus Worm stuff, but apparently Shin did not find it necessary there. And even though it was relatively close, he got the job done. Now we find ourselves on a map called Ley Lines. This is a map with the interesting rich gas feature, where the skinny mineral field, 150 minerals in them, needs to be mined out first before the gas geyser can ever be acquired. So you can't actually build a structure on this until until the mineral field mines out. In some of the games where I've seen this actually being used, it seems like a lot of players forget that the rich gas geyser becomes available after a couple minutes, which is yeah. It's a little bit unfortunate. It's more one of those, oh snap, I still have that gas geyser type of situation, but technically it could be really cool. Hatch gas pool right here for Shin. Actually, no, I say that. Ah! It looked like a hatch gas pool, but it's not. This is a quick triple hatch opener for Shin. Completely gasless. Usually these are the type of builds that lead towards roaches. We'll have to keep an eye out on exactly what Shin decides to do in this game. He may very well be switching it up from what we saw previously. Okay. Third command center coming up. I'm assuming we're going to be seeing a starport here momentarily from ByuN. As soon as he gets up to 100 gas, that's what this SCV is desperately waiting for. One more, boom! Hey, nice. Tech lab on the barracks would be nice, so we can once more go into the cloak. If we want to. Honestly, I feel like ByuN played that previous game well. But we did see quite a few macro slip-ups, and we also did see quite a few micro slip-ups. So if he decides to play the exact same strategy again, I don't really mind that idea all too much. Oh, this is good. Yeah, nicely done. We just need to play the game a little bit tighter. Roach Warren coming up here indeed for Shin, who's now finally taking a gas. Second gas guys are shortly on the back of this, but this means that he's skipping out on that Zergling speed until quite a bit later. Third command center is going to finish up momentarily. We'll see ByuN building an orbital on that immediately. Unlike all of the viewer games I've ever casted. Look at this. You see that? Command center finished up. I don't know what it is with the viewer games and the orbital commands, but it really bothers me, okay? It is now my sworn duty whenever I cast any viewer game to immediately shout about orbital commands when they are not produced instantly. That's not me being a jerk, that's just me being a harsh teacher, okay? Such a good unit. Such a good upgrade. Okay. Oh, we're gonna go for another reactor over here. I would like to see some mech. Can we do some mech? No, we're not doing mech. We did see Clem play a little bit of mech. He was going for battle mech, and he made it look mighty strong, which is always cool. Lair coming up right now here for Shin. So he's opening up roaches. I'm assuming this is mostly just a stepping stone, and he will likely be switching away from those roaches in the near future. But he could also double down if he wants to go Evo chambers here soon. Now, since there is indeed no link speed, yeah, these Hellions can deal a lot of damage. Still though, it's once more a deep dive like we saw in the previous game. Yeah, and this is... How do I put this nicely? Those Hellion YOLOs, right, where you just kind of drive them into a mineral line and you hope for the best. We decided in like 2011 that those builds were bad. And we see them being effective every once in a while. I feel like it's one of those things, right? When you're a Terran player, you go to bed, right? This is the type of stuff you dream about. You dream about roasting an entire mineral line of drones. You go in, the Hellions drive out of that base again, victoriously as well. They kill 20 workers, right? But dreams are not always reality. Trust me, I can know. I've had many dreams of beating Serral in like a World Championships Grand Finals. But look at me. I commentate games now. It's a little different. Anyways, what I'm trying to get at, right, is that the dream of driving into a mineral line and killing all the drones rarely works. I haven't seen it work at the pro level, really ever. Not since about 2011. It used to be common back in the day when everybody sucked. But now that everybody's good at the game, you lose 6 Hellions, you kill 4 drones, and you lose all initiative right now. I mean, it turns out Shin is not playing an aggressive follow-up, but it's really hard to actually keep the map control. Like, ByuN is flying these Banshees around, he doesn't know where the roaches are. He doesn't know. Like, lucky for him, the roaches are over here. But for all he knows, like, he needs to position these relatively cautiously so the Banshees can go back home in a pinch if they are needed, right? So you just, I don't know. You rarely get the value. I much rather see those units played a little bit more safely. Anyways, it's also one of those situations where if they would have killed 20 drones, I'd be like, yes, it's amazing. I'm a two-faced commentator. Look at what ByuN does with the aliens. He just killed all the drones. That's me. Doing an impression of me. Alright, anyways. Armory coming up. Second factory is building. +2/+2 on the back of this soon. Although the armory is late. You're late. An armory is never late, Mr. Commentator. Nor is it early. It arrives... Okay, well, apparently it arrives precisely when ByuN means to. I think it's late. Because it means that he can't go into 2-2 instantly, but he is dealing a little bit of damage on the other side of the map. Roaches are trailing behind. This is the downside of opening roaches. You're always pretty much going to be taking some losses. 10 drones actually there is quite nice for ByuN. Shin is already, though, sitting at 87 workers. Like, I can't even count to 87. I run out of fingers and toes long before that. So losing a bunch of drones, it's almost like ByuN is doing him a bit of a favor. Let's see. +2/+2 coming up right now. This was a nice lead for Taran. Now it's turned into a... yeah, very even setup. Oh, this base is harassable with siege tanks? Ooh. Well, Shin, how are we gonna deal with that? Apparently, we're gonna not deal with it. We're gonna give it up instead. And maybe do a counterattack? Ultra Cavern, by the way, 8.5 minutes into the game. Adrenal Glands as well. And while he did go +1 missile for the Roaches and the Ravagers, this is ultimately him just using the Roaches as a stepping stone to get towards Ultraling Bane. Should be enough stuff here for ByuN to keep this defended. Nicely done by the Terran. And this push over here is killer, man. I love this. 4 siege tanks in the back. He can't quite hit the hatchery from there, but he's keeping those Marines safe. I mean, safe-ish, right? They're still standing right next to Marines that, you know, could be targeted by the siege tank, right? If the Zerg would get a little too close. I wouldn't want to beat up Marine, but they're relatively safe. Viper's coming up. +1 melee, +2 carapace, and a whole lot of ultras. So ultras in the new patch can now push units around. It means that the transition from roaches into ultras is a lot better, because they would at the very least not get stuck on the roaches in so much. Although we've already seen them getting stuck on each other, which is kind of funny. Like, ultras now push units around, except for other ultras, which means they get stuck on ultras. But they should be a lot better to control. Vipers coming in clutch with the Blinding Cloud. This is a really ugly engagement. Look at that Ultra. You see that? Coming in. This is an ugly engagement, but sometimes ugly is good. The Ultra died, but that was a sacrifice that Shin was willing to make. He's now actually thinking about going all the way across. I don't know, dude. Yeah, I was gonna say, maybe go back home. Cyril calls them Ultras, by the way, which has prompted the entire non-Korean StarCraft scene to call them Ultras as well. Any of the Korean, any of the non-Korean pro gamers, especially the Zergs, will call them Ultras. Ultras and Mutas. Not the best Zerg units, but certainly the ones with the best name. ByuN coming in the north, trying to see if he can, well, maybe get the hatchery and the drones. Dude, this guy wants the cake and eat it too. Yeah, bit off a little bit more than he can chew. Oh my god, I just keep it going. Okay, that was it. I don't know anything else. My English sayings are slowly improving over the years. We have a lot of Dutch sayings too. Somehow those are not nearly as easy for me to come up with. But anyways, hatchery up north goes down. Maybe it's because I speak a lot more English than I do Dutch. Ghost Academy. Very late, actually, for ByuN. He's already got a 5th command center finishing up. He knows he's playing against Ultras. So he decides to delay the transition. I don't really love it. Here we go, though. Ghosts are coming. Additional command centers are building. ByuN has been up with his back against the wall for a little bit now, but it's a large wall. Small back. Let's see. Dude, I love seeing the Ultras not derp as much. It's kind of sick. Here we go. Nice splits, though, by ByuN. Can he keep the splitties going? Never say die. That's one of the two options for a ghost to die. Either they say, never say die, or they say, ah, ah, ah. Like, that's one of the options. I can't keep screaming because my girlfriend may run in. Wonder if I'm okay. I'm not! I just watched the Terran player's base disappear. How can a man ever be okay after that? Anyways. Shin's army got pushed back, though. Only 4 Ultras have died? Ooh. Oh. We're sniping Ravagers, apparently. Yeah, I don't think we want to be wasting Banelings on Marauders and Ghosts. In the meantime, cheeky little Zergling run by. Yeah, Shin's playing some really good StarCraft. I recently casted a series of Shin getting smashed by a Protoss player. And there were like 7 people in the comment section going on and on and on about how Shin is not even that good of a player. Guys, Shin is one of the top 10 players in the world right now. This, like, the statistics don't lie. Shin's extremely good at the game. I'm not Shin, obviously, right? Or am I? Have you ever seen me and Shin in a room at the same time? Okay, yeah, I have. Anyways, there were a bunch of people roasting Shin in the comment section. I saw it. I saw you guys writing that mean stuff. I was a little disappointed. Yeah. Now, Shin's English is not bad. I don't think he watches my videos, though. But that's not, that's not very nice. He's only in the top 10. No. Embarrassing. Spire coming up. Ghost numbers are still growing. It's funny, like, Shin had that 2-week period or so where he was cheesing every game. Remember that? I like that period. He was just cheesing everything. I don't know what happened. I haven't really seen him cheese anything since, but he was winning a lot of stuff when he was just being hyper-aggressive. He's like, nah, I'm a new man. I'm a new man. I'm exactly like the old man, but I'm totally new, I promise. Vipers? ByuN is actually in a really rough position, though. He is running out of cash. Main base is out. Natural is pretty much out. Third base is running low. Fourth base, yeah, not particularly juicy. Shin has been harassed a lot, yes. But his creep spread has been good enough to just take the entire bottom right-hand corner. And he is continuously denying those outer bases here for ByuN. So even though these are not very cost-efficient changes or cost-efficient trades, he knows very well that at some point, ByuN is going to have to make a desperation play. This is not quite desperate yet for ByuN, but we're getting there. He really needs a base very soon, because otherwise he's just going to fizzle out. If you look at the income advantage over the last 5 minutes, really over the last 10 minutes, Zerg has been significantly ahead in that department. And even though ByuN's trades have been cost-efficient enough, he's been losing less than his opponent. It doesn't quite make up for that income deficit. These Zergling run-bys have also been really brutal. I mean, they're handled this time around. But we've seen them running in, dealing quite a bit of damage. And it makes it hard. Like, even though these attacks don't seem to be too good, right? At least not this time around. It makes it really tricky here for ByuN to decide to move out. Because he knows that at a moment's notice, the Zerg army will be running in once more. We have a couple drones being sacrificed, pretending to be changelings. I'm a Marine! Oh, well, turns out they weren't. The siege tank did not believe their lies. Corruptor's coming up. Do we have a Greater Spire? We do not. Maybe he's anticipating that we're going to do the same thing as we did in the previous game? Yeah, Greater Spire coming up after making 14 Corruptors? That sounds like something I would do in my games. It's probably fine here for Shin, but it would be really embarrassing if he gets killed by a maxed out Terran army because he's got like, 50 supply caught up in units that don't do anything. Should be okay. ByuN doesn't know, but this would be the moment to strike. As soon as the Greater Spire finishes up, though, he can swoop in, kill the Medivacs, go back home, morph in the Brute Lords, and prevent any Terran counters. Keep in mind that the Brute Lord changes are cancelled. Nice splitties. One of the changes to the Brute Lord was a bug fix. And they decided to revert the bug fix, which just cracks me up every time I think about that. I know that made the unit better, but we're like, no, we figured out this bug that the Brute Lord has. Oh, by the way, we're reverting the bug fix. There's like a bunch of programmers listening to this right now. They're like, no! What do you mean reverting a bug fix? You made it better! Mass Armory, or Mass Factory right now coming up, and 4 additional command centers. ByuN, we are not that rich. ByuN's playing a different game than I think he is. He is making a late game Ghost Mech transition with Mass Command Center. This is great if we can survive for another 10 minutes or so, but it's very risky at this point in the game. The Brute Lords are spotted, and much like those siege tanks from the low ground on the other side of the map, we now have the Brute Lords being used in the same way. Well, Snipe is still pretty good though. We have all of the Overseers joining in. Ghosts up there are living now, but yeah, they're in a little bit of trouble. The majority of the Brutes have already disappeared, or at least a lot of the Brute Lords have disappeared. I feel like Brute Lords are an excellent unit if you want to try and throw a game. Like, this game was looking really good for Shin, and it's still looking fine, but the Brute Lord change makes me a little concerned. I like the idea of the Infestors, though. So he's positioning an Infestor in such a way that it can... Oh, it got EMP'd. That it can indeed land a fungal across the little crevice. Okay. Now the Brute Lords are actually putting in work. The first time they did something, I didn't like it. But this expansion is going to get the Knight. Thors are coming. Thors are changed, but only for their splash damage missiles. So Thors have 2 attacking modes. The modes that they're in right now is single target. This one is unchanged. Fungal growth coming in. Brute Lords are getting killed. Queen's coming in forward though. They're close enough. Yeah, that they can actually step on creep and still transfuse this. Dude, Brute Lords are... They're one of the units of all time. Yeah. After careful consideration, I will be able to tell you guys that Brute Lords are in fact one of the Zerg units. That was horribly cost inefficient for Shin. And this is giving ByuN all the time he really needs to make that transition towards Ghost Mech. And he's slowly building it up. He's not maxed anymore though, and like I feel like he got a little carried away, man. He made... We've got 3 regular command centers. Like, this is 1,200 minerals that is not doing anything. Corruptors coming in from the side. The Thors are showing up for this party as well. Ain't no party like a Thor party. Shin, yeah, kills the CC, but that was costly. In the meantime, though, there's an Ultra Zergling run by over here. Big fungal growth on the ghosts. And this army is completely disjointed now. ByuN has got a gajillion resources in infrastructure, but not really much in army anymore. Lovely swarmy game here by Shin. Although I think he probably, yeah, he probably should have just skipped the Brute Lord. We'd have another drone over here pretending to be a changeling. He heard great stories. Zerglings flooding across the map right now too, and the supply count is looking too bad for ByuN right now. I don't think he's going to be able to recover from this. A ton of losses on the side of the Taran. Some interesting decision making from our Zerg. A lot of command centers that aren't contributing to anything here for ByuN. I find that late game factory transition a very ambitious one. I think he probably should have played that out a little bit differently, but ultimately it's Shin who wins this series 2-0. And you know what? Those Ultras, they're looking better than ever before. Now, can we do one more game for the road? Just one more. We just saw how good Ultras can be. There's one more new map that seems to be incredibly unpopular called Ultra Love. I feel like it's appropriate. I'm gonna check out one more game. Sorry, I've had this on my list to cast. I'm gonna go check it out right now. Playing with the blue Zerg drones, we once more have none other than Shin. And his opponent in the opposite corner of the map, he goes by the name of Trap. So this map has, well, a 2-line description. It says, "Welcome to the other side, nebulas and virtual skies." That's all it says. Now this map is not played very often at all. It is one of the maps on the StarCraft 2 PTR. We seem to see ley lines and whispers of gold and El Dorado and whatever else we have, but this map, for some reason, rarely included in replay packs. I haven't really heard anybody complain about this map, so I'm not sure exactly what the issue is. But I figured Ultra Love would be appropriate after that many Ultras. Seems like the pro gamers have very little love for Ultra Love. Except for Shin. Shin loves Ultras. And apparently Trap is also down to play some. I'm not sure exactly. Maybe I can look at the... I don't know if this is already being kept track of. No, not yet. So usually there is a Wikipedia page for each of the maps that StarCraft 2 has. And it keeps track of all of the win-loss ratios for the different matchups. And I can kind of give you... I can kind of give you the different statistics for the different matchups. But apparently since this is not an official map yet, because it's LC, Ultra Love LC, it's ladder candidate, there is a chance that this map is never going to actually make it to the ladder. Anyways, different matchup. We've got ourselves a very normal opener here, though, from Trap. Shin also not really doing anything out of the ordinary. I wonder if with, like, the PTR, so we've seen a lot of balance changes get reverted and adjusted over time. I don't remember the last time that the PTR had a map that didn't actually make it to the final version of the map pool. But if one of the maps is just not played very much, and I don't know, like if it's considered to be... I'm imagining at least the reason why the map doesn't get played much is because of the fact that it's imbalanced. I don't know. Anyways, if that's the reason, I wonder if we're gonna maybe see one of the maps not make it to the live version of the game. That'd be interesting. Nah, probably not. That's probably not it. So far, I don't really see anything noteworthy. We have a jump-up pad right over there. Low ground area, 2 third base options. 4th base over there. Maybe just the series that I've had a look at that just don't feature Ultra Love for some reason. I don't see anything here that is immediately blatantly obvious as to why players don't like playing it. Maybe it's just coincidence. Sometimes maps need a little bit of a warm-up as well, you know, where a lot of people are like, ugh, I hate this. But then it turns out to be fine. Like, this does not look like Dynasty, you know? Like, Dynasty, we can kind of understand if that map is not played all too much. At least by non-Terrans. But this map looks totally fine. Albeit very large. Void Ray here after that Oracle. It's gonna take care of whatever it can hit over here. A Roach Warren here building. Twilight Council as well. So far, Shin is just happily macroing up. I'm assuming we can go for a fort as well. We've seen a lot of success for Protoss as of late. A lot of Protoss players in this matchup are trying to survive until the late game. That does not seem to be Shin's plan, however. Shin just prepared about a half-dozen Overlords, and he is likely planning on making a ton of Roach Ravager. It's 1 gas, 42 drones. Okay, now we are making some more. I think he planned it. Like, why do you make so many Overlords? Maybe it was a mistake? Pro gamers are human? I don't know about that. Yeah, so the reason we didn't go for a fort is because we wanted to go quick plus Glaives upgrade here. for Protoss. So that's the attack speed improvement for Adepts. Now, this is one of those decisions, though, from Trap so far that can work out to be a 200 IQ decision. But it does feel very dumb to me when you lose 6 Adepts to Zerglings, only to then go for the Adept upgrade. You know what I mean? Like, it can work out, because Zergs probably don't expect you to go for Adept upgrades after you've just donated 6 Adepts. So in that sense, it can sometimes work out perfectly for you, but it does seem curious to go for an Adept follow-up after you've just given quite a few of your Adepts away. It means that effectively now we're making glaive upgrades for a handful of units. No, he will actually add more. Couple of Zerglings here will be the night. Resonating glaives. It's just a straight up attack speed improvement for Adepts. Purposefully giving away units and then playing that unit. I can't, yeah, is that dumb or smart? I can't quite figure it out. Now, this is the type of stuff that you can very easily lose to, though. Because you can kind of tell here from Shin's amount of units, he already crossed this off the list. He assumed, it seems at least, that this was going to be like a Stalker with Blink follow-up. Which it ultimately will be. But not quite at the correct moment. So 6 drones there. 13 of those Adepts go down in total. I think the Oracles were more efficient than any of those Adepts ever were. Okay. Shin right now, leading the supply count, but he only has a handful of drones here compared to the Protoss. And it's because we're going on a little trip. Brenda and the girls are ready to load themselves up into their private jets. We're going on a trip to Ultra Love. They're a little old. They need the ferry, okay? Oh, knocking down the cooling tower is actually really cool. Link tower. Oh, hit it! Hit it! You got crushed. One of them got crushed. Anyways, does Brenda care? Nah, Brenda, Margaret, Lily, Susan, Beth, none of them care. A couple of them were still sitting inside of their jets. But because Trap gave away so many of his units earlier on, this seems like an awfully effective strategy here for the Zerg. So far, though, he hasn't quite broken through it yet, but the amount of stuff available here for Protoss just looks what the kids would call very mid. A little bit of pickup control as well by Shin, and he just destroys this. Cooling tower down or not. There's not enough stuff. And I guess that's Ultra Love. Ha! Accidental rep god.